Hey, Planeswalkers, it is one of my favorite days of the week. Once again, with yours truly, MetaMaster Mythras, we are covering everything not too hot to trot today when it comes to the meta, my friend. So I am excited. We've got a lot of changes here with Strixhaven, finally starting to see some of those impacts, and we're going to talk about those impacts here in a second. So with that, appreciate you tuning in. As always, great ways to support the channel. Down below in the description, flip me a like. And if you got questions or comments, please let me know. Feel free to hop on the Discord server. Really appreciate the community that we've built there as well. Lots of great questions coming in, and I'm going to talk about something around that in a little bit later here today as well. So Planeswalkers, while you're down checking out the timestamps, we're going to do a quick recap on last week's episode that closed out Kaldheim. We're going to dive into best of one and best of three for you here today. We're going to talk about a new key deck, not a deck to beat the deck, but a new one here today as well. And then additionally, my friends, I do want to talk about one event in particular that I'm pretty excited about and got some fun things to chat about there too. So we've got a lot of things to cover, Planeswalkers. Like I said, appreciate you tuning in. Additionally, like I said, feel free to find the portion of the video today that makes sense for you. And then also down below in the description, I've also will put a short list that I just produced over the last kind of week here of 5 key decks for you to try out. A lot of it ties into the meta that we have here today as well, my friends. So pretty exciting nonetheless, and looking forward to covering things here for you today. So in terms of a recap, we finished out Kaldheim. Not a lot happened last Friday. We only had like 2 days at bat. Some of that was hung up on different bugs as always, but that's okay. I think the biggest thing coming out of that, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, is minus those bugs, it's been a fairly smooth rollout. And in terms of that rollout, a lot of decks in terms of somewhat balance, and we'll get to this here in a little bit because things are swiftly changing, but I definitely feel like it's pretty fair so far. And I'll say that because we got a lot of room left to go and no big key tournaments yet. So again, in terms of Kaldheim recap, lots of rogues, lots of mono red, lots of mono whites, Sultai domination, mono red domination, those kinds of things. Now today we're going to move into the best of one portion for you now because Strixhaven has had an impact, and we're definitely seeing that. So what we're looking at here first is the best of one. The biggest thing that I want to call out here is we're seeing Boros Winota here. So this is a new deck in the meta, one that I covered this week that you should absolutely check out as well. This sucker is at almost 60% win rate. Number 2 in terms of that win rate meta today. Additionally, it's quickly climbing, as you can see, as a large portion of that meta across, right behind mono red snow aggro. And then mono white life gain still has a very high positive win rate. And then as we look continuously down, we got Cycle, we got Rogues, we got Sultai Ultimatum, and then we got 2 other newcomers here. My face is kind of hiding it, but we have Golgari Witherbloom and Golgari Pest, essentially 7 and 8 across both. Those win rates aren't the best. They are a fun deck. I covered a slight variation of this in Jund this week that you guys can check out. Like I said, I'll have some of those links for you down below, or check out my videos on these, but it's not as strong right now that people think. The Jund version, I think, is actually a little bit stronger and gives you some other options, and several folks in Reddit on comments and also in the Discord server mentioned, I think the guy's name is Exodus. There's a modal land, not a modal land, modal card that taps into red that you can do a lot of things with, and I'm blanking on the name. So, but very, very clutch and a good addition and suggestion for that particular deck. Now, when we look at the popularity, again, we see a huge shift in that Boros Winota. We're seeing other things really starting to dissipate, like Sultai Ultimatum, and some other new decks creeping in. So when we look at what's going on here over the trend, we see mono red starting to lose a little bit of that momentum. It's still the number 1 play deck, but it's starting to come into check. The big one is just this explosive, absolute explosiveness of Boros Winota. Then we get into mono white life gains, fairly flat. Sultai Ultimatum, you know, dropped, but still pretty flat. Rogues, same thing. Cycle coming up a little bit. Now, Golgari is becoming more popular, but again, the other thing that we want to check here is the win rate. So at least the win rate's starting to come back. Sultai Ultimatum, or sorry, Sultai Control, and then that Witherbloom one, and then Pests here, again, having a very, very low win rate, but starting to climb. And what I would say is not necessarily discrediting this deck right away. A lot of it is probably people trying to figure out how to play it as well. Now, we did start in the bronze to mythic space, so let's go ahead and drill into some of the more competitive stuff now as we're getting towards the end of the season, when we look at platinum. So we do see mono black auras still as a function going on here. We see Golgari Witherbloom still as a piece as well, but again, really strong, the top end staying intact, and what we're seeing is that continuous piece here. Boros Winota is really, really doing work, so we want to keep an eye on that and see how it evolves over time. So it's a strong kind of aggro mid-range deck right now. I would surmise that it's going to open space for a control deck, in particular something along the lines of like a dimmer control. A lot of us have been chatting about that, so we'll certainly keep our eyes and ears out for any messaging or top decks that evolve that way. So that is best of one for us here, folks, today. Let's go ahead and take a look at best of three. So the biggest thing in best of three, we're starting to see similar things. Boros Winota creeping in. What's interesting is I have been watching this over the last couple days. Prismari Dragons was in here. Typical in terms of content creators. Again, not me in particular. I would take that as a huge compliment. But you know, really what people are playing, new things, people jumping on the bandwagon, giving a crack at it, and then obviously impacting some of the statistics. Now, what we do see is this pretty tightened range here at the top end between these three: Mono Red Snow, Gruul Adventure, Mono Red Snow Aggro. So let's keep an eye on the Gruul Adventure one. That's going to be a big piece. Teamer Adventure, ran a nice list by Delmo here the other day. So shout out to Delmo there. You guys can check that out as well, but really sitting here now behind my face, we have mono white aggro and Sultai Ultimatum rounding out the bottom. And then on the flip side here, what's interesting, Gruul Adventures is a lower piece of the play here, but again, if it's doing this well, I would surmise it's going to slowly start to climb. We're seeing Snow Aggro kind of falling off again, but let's go ahead and see what we got going on. So we got downward pressure on Sultai Ultimatum, we got the upward pressure on Boros Winota. We are seeing, as intended, usually as these decks climb, the win rates start to come down, and part of that's also due to the mirror match because it's a 50% win. And then you go up with Teamer Adventures a little bit. Mono Red falling in both play and win rates. Rogues kind of steady. Mono Red Snow again coming up more, but the win rate falling. And then Mono White Aggro kind of going sideways. And then again, the Obosh Adventure kind of idea there. So very interesting to see this again at the platinum to mythic level. If we go back a little bit more again here, we do see that influx of the Is It Prismari, like I mentioned at the broader side of things. The list isn't as strong as people think, kind of sort of similar along the lines of Witherbloom. Again, the biggest pickup being that Boros Winota deck. So that closes out our best of three Planeswalkers. Again, if you have questions or comments, and we can look down here too real quick, similar path as you can see everything moving, please let me know. Feel free to hop in the Discord server. That information is available for you down below. But very exciting here. So we've covered the best of one and the best of three, so now time to talk about that key deck, and that key deck today is absolutely going to be Boros Winota. So let's go ahead and take a look at this deck. There's a couple different versions out there. I know several of you have asked me about it. Why this? Why not that? Kind of a thing. And right here, this gives you a good look at those two. So let me scroll up here so you can see this a little bit better. The biggest two pieces that I've particularly heard is this. One, why not run Luminarch? And the version that I've been playing also doesn't run Luminarch, so it's this version here towards the top. And this one that I've ran is by Ryumi. They've done a wonderful job. The board's nice. One of the things that you do need to do, though, is change it up for best of one. So best of one, you can use that learn mechanic. It slightly takes advantage of it here. I've changed my personal deck. You guys can get access to that one in the Discord server if you'd like. I've shared that there with everyone, but I've fine-tuned the sideboard particularly for the lessons, and I can't tell you enough, being able to go grab a land, the right land when you're kind of stuck, is heavily important. I would also tell you Faceless Haven is something I've rarely used. I think it will be more important when you run into some of the board wiping decks. Generally, we're still okay, and several of you have commented on this before. It's slightly greedy, and I would agree. It actually sets you back, particularly on Blade Historian, and there's a lot of times that it's going to be counter to that play. So that's pretty important to think through as well. Then when we look at the other one here, we got the Luminarch. What I don't like about Luminarch is that it's not triggering Winota on a turn 4. That's a big piece to me. Here we still get the triggers, but what I prefer personally here, and the other one also ties in with Basri's Lieutenant, what I prefer is, what I would like is a better 2-drop slot here to enable Winota. Again, just personal style, but you know, these are two kind of good versions for you to take a look at. This one's using slightly different lessons, which is pretty important to leverage, I would definitely say, and something to keep in mind. So very cool all around. Lots of variations out there. Those are kind of the two main ones. Again, this one being slightly higher win rate. I've had a lot of success with it. I wouldn't necessarily discount this one, but something to consider and think about as well. If anything, I would throw in the token generation Castle Vantris in there, to be honest. So that's what we have. Let's go ahead and we'll dig into the matchups for you here, just so you guys can see. Not too much data yet, still kind of evolving, but we got Sultai Ultimatum as that win rate. Let's see if I can get some better match data for you here quick. No. So still filling it out, but again, what I've seen is it's got a pretty heavy win rate lineup, similar kind of like the Team Returns deck that we did, where it's pretty favorable against a lot of things. As we talked about, if you want to play against it, you're going to want to be playing some control magic. Doomscar, I heard, is pretty good, but you really need the extinction stuff, and like I said, lots of variations to keep in mind with this. So Planeswalkers, that is today's deck. Boros Winota, again, insane, super fun, and I'll have the deck list available for you down below, and absolutely check out that video. Now, last but not least, I did want to talk about one event. There were no big events over the weekend. You guys can correct me if I missed something, but certainly nothing, in my opinion, that drove a lot of the results that we're seeing in the current meta. Mostly that was done by you, which is awesome, and I love seeing that. The event that I do want to talk about is an event for charity actually today. So I do have a strong place in my heart and soul to give back. And so shout out to Monster Jeff. So Monster Jeff popped in the Discord server, was asking for some help, and thank you to all the folks in the server. We have roughly 100 individuals in there as well, asking about what to play. And when we were helping them, I ended up asking, you know, which tournament is for this, and said Extra Life. So very awesome, and good luck, Monster Jeff, in your gameplay. I won't share what deck you've settled on, because we don't want to skew the match statistic too much, because I would expect some fun decks to come out of this, and we'll get to see some competitive things as well. But for those of you that don't know, Extra Life is a charity event. They raise money for Children's Miracle Network Hospital. So I would strongly encourage you, if you have time over the weekend, weekend to watch maybe some of your favorite streamers and donate to a good cause for charity. It's something I look forward to contributing towards in the future myself. Again, like I said, these are things that are very near and dear to my heart. Unfortunately, my weekend is kaput. So with that, if you guys have seen last week's weekly meta, you'll probably understand why. So with that, did quickly want to just throw out here too, they got Wizards of the Super Coast team. If you're interested, you can join their group and help raise money as well. So thank you obviously to all the streamers, all the folks that participate, not only the arena players, but several other kind of cross-platform gamers, those kinds of things as well, helping out here. So very, very cool story. I absolutely recommend watching this and checking it out. I will post this also down below for you so that you guys can see what's going on, and then you can just Google the event. It is running this weekend, so again, check it out. And if you're on Twitch, you'll probably see a lot of streamers supporting this, which is a great cause. So Planeswalkers, to round everything out, so we talked about our recap of Kaldheim. We covered the best of one snapshot here, equipped you with some of the key decks and some of the trends and changes. We talked about our best of three. We covered this lovely Boros Winota deck, and then additionally we covered a very, very cool charity event this weekend. So I'm looking forward to all the results, looking forward to seeing how things evolve here. We're still very, very early in Strixhaven, and we'll continue to see things evolve and change, particularly as more events come out. Those events tend to have a little bit more of an impact on best of three than they do best of one, but we do see that, and certainly excited to continue to bring you guys this weekly series. One of my favorite things that I enjoy doing, like I said, so, and always say, and one of my favorite days of the week. So Planeswalkers, appreciate your support as always. Feel free to check me out on Twitch. Just before this, I finished up a absolute terror with that Boros Winota deck, going like 13 and 3 or something crazy like that. I'm blanking on what it was now. So, but it was just nuts. So, with that, appreciate all your support. Flip me a like if you enjoyed today's video. Love to hear from you. Questions, comments, what you're thinking, which deck. I know a lot of you have been asking me what to play. So don't forget that I do interact and do deck building content more on a one-on-one basis through my Patron, as well as my YouTube memberships as well. So if that's something you guys are interested in, absolutely check it out. So as always, Planeswalkers, appreciate the support. Great ways for us to connect in the description. Like I said, flip me a like, and looking forward to seeing you around more. Great ways for us to connect, ask those questions, hop in the Discord server, and I hope you guys enjoyed this meta analysis for this week. Lots of cool stuff. Stay tuned. Looking forward to it. And several of those deck lists and the article that I wrote will be there for you on a lot of these changes. So, all right, Planeswalkers, that was a mouthful. Stay safe. Take care. I'll see you again soon. Till next time, MetaMaster Mythras out.